Hey Hogs, today I'm going to talk about power and counter. This is the second, these two plays are the second run plays we're going to install during our camp. They are pretty much the same play. That's why we do them together. The only difference between counter and power is what the H and the backside guard are doing. Pretty much they flip responsibilities. And when there's only two people flipping responsibilities, I consider it the same play because everyone else has the same exact rules. Okay. Once again, power counter, they're kind of middle school plays that you've ran for a long time and hopefully are familiar with. Also play that you'll see um, on college and professional football. It's a pretty popular play. Hopefully you've heard of it before, but I'm going to go through the rules and kind of how we run the play. Okay. Um, so the power and counter are kind of the two plays where it requires the most attention, especially this year, because the guy that we are kicking out, because remember, all of our run plays are pull plays, which means we have a puller where someone's going to get kicked out and everyone else is down blocking away from the guy, away from where the kick out is occurring. Um, and so power and counter are no different. But the only thing is, power and counter can change who we are kicking out based off of if we have a tight end or we don't have a tight end. Okay. So our rule, I'll even put this in here as I'm talking here, just so you guys can refer back to it. So without a tight end or a Y, well, it doesn't even need to be a Y. So it could be a H or Y. Um, uh, we kick out a 5 technique or wider. Okay, so the first guy outside the tackle is who we kick out um, if we don't have a tight end. So here, it's kind of hard to see, but this is a 4 technique right here. So we would not kick out a 4 because he's head up on the tackle. So if this linebacker was up on the line of scrimmage like this, it would be 5-5-5, and that would be the guy that we're kicking out. Okay. But we do not kick a 4 technique. Um, so if you watch trap, so trap, we kick out a 2 or wider. Without a tight end or a H or a Y, um, we kick out a 5 technique or wider. Okay. So if there's, um, let's just say, so here's the Y. Okay. The rule would be different if we had the Y on the line of scrimmage on the same side that we're running power or counter um, than not. Okay, so without a tight end, kick out 5 technique or wider. So with a tight end, okay, I put H in there because we could technically run power to the H where the H is not kicking out. We could use somebody else. But most of the time it's going to be our Y, who's our true tight end, and our H will be the guy that's leading up and through the hole, and our guard is kicking out on counter. Okay, power, the H is kicking out and the guard is leading up and through. So with tight end, we kick out a 6 technique or wider. Okay. So what that means, if we had a Y right here, okay, and we're running counter to the right, we would kick out a 6 technique or wider. So let's say if we had a 7 technique, he was out here, and then let's say this guy was a 5 technique, okay? So he's on the outside shoulder of the tackle, the linebacker's on the outside shoulder of the Y. Let's say we have that. So if we're running it to a tight end, we would not kick out the 5 technique. We normally would if there was no tight end. If there was no tight end, we would kick out a 5 technique or wider. But to the tight end side, if there's a tight end there, this is where we have to be smart. If there's a 5 technique, the Y would down block them. Okay, now we have an extra guy on the blocking surface. So the Y would down block, or we could even double team this guy with the tackle and the tight end to the first backer inside. Um, or the Y can just block him on his own, depending on what the front is. And then we would kick out the next guy wider. Okay. Now, let's say if there was a guy head up um, on, let's say there was a guy head up on the tight end, we would still kick him out, and the tight end would rip inside. okay, he would rip inside to FBI. So if there was a 3 technique, okay, on the guard shoulder here, if there was a 3 and a 6, which we would see against forefronts, okay, so a 6 technique here and a 3 technique here, this Y would rip inside. This guy is lava, we wouldn't touch him, okay? He'd rip inside and block the backer. The tackle would block down on that 3 technique, and we would kick out that 6. So the rule is that we have to know who we're kicking out. That's what the whole play is predicated off of. Without a tight end, we kick out a 5 or wider. So if it's just a tackle. With a tight end, we kick out a 6 or wider. This is the only play where having a tight end or not having a tight end changes that rule. Only power and counter. All of the rest of our run plays, it's always going to be a 6 technique or wider. Okay, trap is a 2 technique or wider. That's the only one that's closer or more inside. Okay, power is either a 5 technique or 6 technique based off the tight end. All of our other run plays, it will always be a 6 technique or wider because we will always need an H or a Y to run those plays. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. And I'll leave this here for future reference. Okay, right there. Now let's go into the rest of the rules. So let's say, let's bring him back out here. Okay. Let's say if it was just to a tight end here. Okay, so and the linebacker's out here. This guy's head up on the tackle, so he'd say 5-5-5, and he's kicking out. Now, power and counter, they're also called God's play. God's play because of the rules for everyone on the front side. So as I said before, everyone is blocking back because we are pulling the backside guard, and we all have to block back to cover the gap that he is vacating, and he is creating a new gap on the front side. That's why pull plays are effective. You remove a guy from the backside and add him to the front side. But in order for that to work, everyone on the front side needs to block back to cover the gaps that that guy is vacating. Okay, so the tackle will block back, the guard will block back, the center will block back, the backside tackle will wheel and seal, and then obviously the H is leading up and through the hole. Okay, so it's called God's play because everyone on the front side, their rules are gap on double team. So the center, they will block their gap first. If there's no one there, then they'll block the guy on top of them. And if there's no one there, well, they will be doubling with the guard, the play side guard, if there's a guy on him or on his play side shoulder. So his rule is gap on double. Okay. Same thing with the play side guard. He'll go through the same scenario. He would check his gap if there's someone in there. He would block him, down block him. If there was no one there, then he would block the guy on him, and he would be doubling with the play side tackle. Okay, and same thing with the tackle. So there's a guy in his gap, he'd block him. If there's a guy on top, he would block him. If there was no one in his gap, so you just go through the progression 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then if there was no one on him, he would be doubling with the play side guard because there was most likely someone on top of the play side guard. If there's not, then he just goes straight to the first backer inside. Okay. So GOD, GOD, GOD. That's why it's called God's play because the acronym you can remember is GOD, gap on double, gap on double, gap on double. Should be pretty easy to remember. Okay. Backside guard, they pull and kick out the first person outside the play side tackle or tight end, depending on the blocking surface. And the way you know if there's a tight end or not, you turn your eyes and you look. Okay. I don't expect you guys to know the formations. Obviously, if you're a tight end or an H, you need to know the formations. But if you are one of the 5 linemen, yeah, I don't expect you to know all the formations, but all you have to do is look. Okay, look to see if there's a tight end there. The play side tackle will be able to tell you when he's calling out the technique. He'll be able to say 5-5-5. If it's a 5, we know there's no tight end. But if it's a 6 or wider, then you know there is a tight end on the blocking surface. So the kick out's going to be a little bit wider. And like I said, the backside tackle is wheel and seal, and the H is skip pulling up and through the hole for the play side inside backer. Okay, or strong safety depending on the defense that we're seeing that week. Okay, so those are our rules for counter. Okay, I don't think we have any with the tight end here. Here we do. Yes, we do. But this is going away from the tight end. So let me just do this here. Let's just pretend that we were going to run it to the tight end here, okay? Let's just say there's the H. Okay, now we got kind of have a blank slate here. So now we're running it, we're running counter to the right here towards the Y, and the H is on the backside. Okay, so let's just go through everyone's rule. So the Y gap on double team. There's no one in his gap, which is shoulder to shoulder of the shoulder of the tackle and the inside shoulder of the tight end shoulder. There's no one there. He checks to see if there's someone on top of him. There is this linebacker, but that's the guy we're kicking out. So he would say 7-7-7 because he's on that outside shoulder. So there's no one on top of him that he can block. So he is now knows that he's doubling with the tackle. He would make a TED call, tackle and end, tight end. So he'd say TED, TED, TED. So the tackle knows that the Y is double teaming with him. So the tackle, same thing. He checks his gap. There's no one there. He checks on top of him. He has a guy on top. So he has a base block on this guy. And he knows he is now double teaming with the tight end because the tight end said TED, TED, TED. Same thing with the guard. He checks in his gap. No one's there. There's no one on top of him. So he's doubling with the center. So he would make a cage call, center and guard. So there's the cage call, same thing, center. There's no one in his gap. So there's a guy on top of him. And he hears the cage call. So he knows he is doubling with the guard. Okay. And they are doubling to FBI. Okay. They're doubling to those guys right there. First backer inside, first backer inside. Okay. Backside guard pull kicks out, first guy outside the tight end in this case. We wheel and seal the backside, backside tackle, checks the B gap to C gap, and then the H is skip pulling up and through the hole, and in this case is leading for the strong safety right here, rolled down in the box. Okay, and then we're running the ball that way. So hopefully that makes sense. You guys were able to kind of see me draw it up there of what it would look like to the tight end side. And then without a tight end, it would be the same thing, but the tackle would just have to block this guy by himself. Okay. That would be the only difference if the tight end was on the other side or if the tight end was split out and we weren't running counter to the tight end, is that the tackle would have to take this guy on his own. And the H would be leading up for that linebacker right there. Okay. So that's what that would look like. Power is the same thing. So we'll go to power here. But the only difference is now the H is kicking out and the guard is leading up and through the hole. The H and the backside guard just switch responsibility. Okay. So this time the H can be on the play side, and the H will now kick out the first guy on or outside, or the first guy outside the tackle or on or outside the tight end. And then the guard will be skip pulling tight up through the hole and blocking the play side inside backer or the strong safety. Okay. He blocked the inside backer with no tight end. He blocked the strong safety if we were running it to a tight end. Okay. And all the other rules are the same. So gap on double, gap on double, gap on double. Okay. On the front side, pretty easy. You just got to go through that progression and you can block anything I draw up there. When in doubt, just block your gap. Okay. Let's show some footage here. Counter has always been our best run play in terms of average yards. Okay, I'll show it here. So we're running counter to the right. 5-5-5. There's the guy we're blocking. The tackle sees there's a guy on top of the guard, so this should be a double team. They could have just made a gap call where the tackle blocks down and the guard will go straight to backer. They might have made that call, but I would double team this. The more double teams we can get, the better. Centers has a guy in his gap, so he's going to block down. He could have made a cat call here, which means center and tackle, where the tackle will come and help out, make sure that the center is taken over, and then he will peel back for the C gap. Okay. Guard's coming to kick out. H is leading up through the hole for the play side backer there. Okay. So here we do have the double team with the play side guard and tackle, as you can see. and we should be trying to throw that guy over into the guard's gap, and then the tackle should be working up to that guy. Okay. They should be nice and tight, trying to move that guy just like that, trying to throw him over, and the tackle works up to the next level. That's what we should be doing. Okay. The center work blocks back. As you can see, the backside tackle comes and tries to help out, but really he needs to turn back and help out that backside there. Okay, the H needs to be faster through the hole. This was our first game of the season this year, so things didn't look the best that they could have. And then as you can see, this the guard needs to pull tight to the line of scrimmage, scraping paint off of people's butts, and then blocking, hitting this guy in the inside, bringing the boom just like he did. This ball should be ran right there for 1,000 yards, but our running back doesn't see that, so he runs it inside here. But we should be running the ball right there where that gigantic hole is. This is the funnel that we're trying to create. Hopefully, you guys, you can see this. Everybody blocks down, and they create one side of the wall of the funnel, and then the kick out is on the other side. So here's the two walls of the funnel that we're trying to create. Okay, and the more wash we can get on the wall on the down blocks, the better. Okay, so there's the funnel the ball should be ran through. That's what we're trying to do with the down blocks and the kick out. Okay, that's a great view of how counter should look. Okay, Packer is power for us. Let me go later in the season here. Okay, it's probably a good one to watch here if we, I don't know if we have end zone. Yes, we do. Okay, good. So let's watch this here. Okay, now we're running power to the right here. So now the H is the one that's kicking out, and now the guard is skip pulling up and through the hole. Okay, so here we have block your gap. Okay, we have should have a double to backer there. Okay, he should be doing a base block, pulling wheel and seal on the backside. Okay, here's the kick out. He does a great job. H goes inside to out, doing a banana here, trying to kick that guy out. Okay, our tackle does a great job maintaining his leverage. I'd love to see him get more wash and not giving up so much penetration upfield. The guard, he sees that hip disappears, and so he runs up to the next level. He should be getting up to this guy. Never turn your shoulders like that because now he can't go block that linebacker. You should always stay square on your double team as you're working up. That's committing too much to the double team. If the hip disappears, then you can work up to the second level. Okay. And then the backside guard gets around the crap, and then he's up and through the hole. And then you block this guy inside to out. This is perfect. You're going to take this guy and use his momentum against him and block him out. Okay, but if only our play side guard was able to get to his linebacker, this would be a really good play for us. Okay, but he wasn't able to get there, and so that's the guy that makes the tackle. Okay, but still, we got quite a decent amount of yards there. Okay. So that's the difference. Here's power. The H is kicking out on the last play. The guard was kicking out. The H was leading up and through. Okay. Sorry, I don't have any footage of a tight end. I might be able to find one here a long time ago. Let me see here. Nope. Green Bowl. Nope. No. Mm, that's not it. Yeah, I won't be able to find it. Sorry, guys, for wasting your time. We'll get footage of that when we get out into the field, but it's not much different. So that's power and counter.